I don't believe in misandry. It doesn't exist. Based on the stories I've heard and the sample size, I can agree that most guys are trash.
So would you say then you believe yourself to be the upper percentile?
Yes. I always tell people
So-
I top 5% of
You're
guys.
so fucking arrogant! Oh my god!
Welcome to another episode of Men Explain, where we really dig deep into the differences in the way that men and women think.
Now, today we've got a TikTok duo that is very popular when they talk about things like
TikTok.
gender, they talk about opinions, preferences. Let's please welcome our guests today, Nick and Chow.
Yeah.
I think they were quite surprised when you said TikTok duo.
Oh, well, the reason
Like,
why
is it?
the reason why I say that is because people are very much comfortable and they know you guys now as the two of you guys who sit together and talk about these kind of things, right?
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah, but I don't know. I don't attach myself so strongly to the platform, lah. That's
yes,
all.
yeah. Like,
That's
You're
I
just
get
a
what you mean.
duo.
We just, yeah.
Cheers.
It can
Yeah.
be discussed on any platform,
we can be
basically.
Facebook duo.
Okay, guys, we always see you, online. But how did you guys even start doing this content together and decide that this is what we're going to narrow in on? Because we all know by now the type of content that you guys do. So how did it even start?
We're close as friends, right?
Yeah.
And then one day I was sending her home, driving back, and then after that we were talking about one of the topics that we were talking about.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I like to say that the genesis is really organic. It came from a real conversation we were having.
Do you
And
remember what this topic was?
I do. So it was like, what does it mean if he likes your IG stories?
Oh,
Yeah.
can I
Of
contribute
course,
to that?
go. What does
Yeah.
it mean if he likes your IG stories?
I think it's a form of flirting.
Yes,
Really?
yes.
Yeah, I think it's a form of
Why
flirting.
you're like, oh, that's
he liked
not
too many
flirting?
girl stories.
No, because I like people's stories, right, based on what they're doing. Like, I literally just liked my friend's story because she was in Cebu and I liked it and I went, oh my gosh, I love Cebu.
Yeah,
Okay,
see, but there's
you
a
liked it for
notification.
context. You liked it for context.
And you messaged her also.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's
It's
like,
an opener.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that I'm interested.
Okay, for example, right?
He's scared already. He's
you
scared
post a
already.
cute, you post a cute selfie, okay?
And someone likes
Then,
it.
then
You're
the guy
flirting.
likes
I
it, yeah.
think it's
And like you guys just met, like he's kind of texting you a little bit, but you don't really know what it meant.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Nick, what does it mean when he likes my IG
Frankly,
story?
I think that even if whoever not just likes your story, but keeps viewing your stories constantly.
How do you tell though?
Oh,
if
they
he's-
appear at the top.
They always appear at the top.
Really?
Always.
Yes.
Okay, anyway, we're going to go into our topic today, okay, which is misogyny and misandry. Do you guys know what that is?
Misogyny is the hate against females, and then misandry is the other one.
Let's not use the word hate.
Hate.
We're going to use the word prejudiced.
Prejudice.
Okay.
So,
Alright.
Go with a bigger
misogyny
word. Yeah.
is prejudice against women, and misandry is prejudice against men. We're going to keep it at that. Now, do you think that there is misandry and misogyny very prevalent in the social media platforms?
Yeah, of course.
Definitely, especially when people are anonymous and
Mm.
they're allowed to add their thoughts a lot more freely and they don't feel like there's consequence to the things that they say. They tend to be a lot more
Carefree with what they
yeah,
say.
and they'll be rude. They'll
Yeah.
be, I guess,
Like the way that I'm observing your facial expression, I feel like you've experienced this quite a bit.
I think
Or-
okay.
any
Any
experiences that you
woman
can
on
remember?
social media
Yeah.
will have comments saying things like, "You should do OF."
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I also kena before.
For what? Feeder.
No, people ask me to do OF.
I'll say.
Then-
Then I was like, yo, man, no thank you.
Do you have any examples that you remember?
I think
misogynistic
the
comments?
OF one is a really big one, or things like go back to the kitchen, that sort of thing. Like it's very,
People
very.
say that.
They still say that, yeah, but it's not extremely prevalent. I feel like at least on my platforms, thankfully, but occasionally you get a couple. Most recently, I think the very common ones are like OF or like stop yapping. Then they always say like, oh, women yap a lot and stuff.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
But do you think that's actually misogynistic though?
if they tie it to gender, then yes.
True.
Fair. Fair.
Yeah.
Nick?
What about you then?
I think against men, there is a lot of insults about your status in life, like your wealth, how you treat women, and stuff like that. Like people are always tying you to a certain value that they want you to earn this much of money, pay for every meal and that kind of thing. But I don't necessarily think it's like much of a problem. Right. I don't think there's an argument of misogyny versus misandry when the whole platform itself on social media is toxic.
No, I agree with
Oh,
that.
wow.
But personally wise,
Went there.
have you ever received like comments which you said like, oh, this sounds like it's coming from a person who just does not like men? Not about like status
Like
or whatever.
they're
It's just-
generalizing.
they're just generalizing. I just don't like
Against
men.
men, not so much.
Against you?
Yeah, against me as a person, then
Right.
more often. Yeah.
But do they tie it to gender?
I rarely think it's about gender.
Yeah.
At least for men. I think women have it way worse.
So if it's not gender, then what do you think it's about?
Or just as a person.
It's us as individuals. It's a personal attack.
Yeah.
Okay, no, but for you, you've addressed these comments before, right?
Yeah.
You have no hesitation when it comes to like just going there and replying the comments.
Yeah. I think at some point in time, people always think that other people are not allowed an opinion just because it's against yours. But like at the same time, all these platforms, they give you a place to voice your thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And I voice my thoughts pretty often. I don't think I'm wrong to have an opinion just because it's different from the general public.
But do you ever think that there's a line where because you have a following and because people see you as a certain kind of influencer and whatnot, the way that you respond, people may take it as harmful, or people may take it as, oh, he's also a
Offensive.
very offensive person, oh, he's also a very hateful person.
I have that thought process.
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. It could be. It's also why I don't tie myself to a legit agency.
Okay, no, you brought up a good point because frankly speaking, I actually think 2-3 times before I reply or like leave a comment. I want so badly to reply sometimes to these stupid comments or like hate comments or comments about your appearance or whatever. I really craft something out. I'm like, bam, this is the best comment ever.
Yeah.
And then 2 minutes later, I'm like, delete.
Straight.
I just backspace.
So like what sort of comments are you replying to?
Somebody basically called me very flat-chested on
Okay.
Instagram, okay? And it was just out there. He kept commenting on like all these different pictures that I was posting. I don't even remember what photos they were or why. And then I think some of my followers started to like defend me on my platform, right? They were like, you're so rude, get off. And then it started this whole like argument in the comment section. And I wanted so bad to go in there, type something really like witty. And I just decided to delete the whole thread. I was like,
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Okay.
Because I feel that I need to put more thought process into it, you know? And then if I'm so harmful to him, what if he gets affected? And
But why do you delete it then?
I just decided that I didn't want to get into it.
Okay.
At the end of the day, I was
Just
like,
kind
you
of
know what,
like-
forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not worth my energy because if I reply, he's going to reply, all these people are going to continue chiming in and it just will never be the end of it.
It's a good thing that you said that because of the next question I want to say, right? Just
Yeah.
back on this, right? Do you think that kind of fuels you?
Not really.
So you honestly just reply because you want to just...
I just think it's
You just
funny
want to air it.
sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Chow, the question that I want to ask, right, is that obviously as a woman, when you say certain things, right, sometimes people would say it's a pretty bold statement. When you guys talk about certain opinions, certain preferences together, it comes off as pretty bold. How do you deal with backlash when sometimes people disagree with that? And maybe even if it comes from a woman, especially if it comes from another woman, how do you deal with that backlash?
I think there was like a video that we talked about cheating.
The context is if your friend cheats, do you help
Ah,
tell
yes.
their partner?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And
So-
what did you say?
I think I said that I would talk to the friend first
Yeah.
before intervening because it's not my relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then people were like, you're not a girl's girl because of that.
Okay, I have a very different definition of a girl's girl because sometimes these things happen within our friend groups.
Yeah.
And if you truly are very good friends with each other, you will also want to state your views, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
because I think it affects the friendship also.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, I think my thought process was I would talk to the friend
Yeah.
and let them know my thoughts about this
Yeah.
and how my values are different.
Yeah.
And they get to choose what they want to do next. So eventually, if it prolongs and they don't do anything about it, they still continue cheating, then that affects my friendship with them because of the different values. Yeah, but it also takes a while to explain these sorts of concepts sometimes. And TikTok videos, Instagram reels, they're all very short form.
And they might just watch like 10 seconds of it
Correct,
and
yeah.
assume
and they form this like
yeah,
opinion.
and we probably film like 20-30 minutes worth of stuff that we condense into 1 minute.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a lot of context that gets taken out because of brevity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we only had maybe a few videos that got really bad backlash. That was like the main one, I think.
Right.
But how do you guys then prevent after something like that happens? Do you guys think like, okay, the next video that we put out, should we change the way that we craft certain things? Or you're just like, whatever, these are our views, I don't care.
That's my stance lah.
Okay.
I would tweak it a little bit
She's a
just
bit
to
more
ensure.
protective.
Yeah, so I will just make sure that the tone and the messaging is still positive overall, that there's still valuable takeaways from it. If it's just a video to incite more hate and to stir more conversation of like emotions and anger into rage bait, then what's the point?
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't do that. That's why this balance works out, because I think Nick is a very I'll just say what I want kind of
Yeah.
person, and then I'll be like, hold up, maybe we need to.
Has anyone ever approached you in real life, like in person, to be like, yeah, I really hated what you said, or like I really
nobody.
nobody dare to say
dares.
it in person.
Nobody
Love,
dares.
love
yeah.
have.
Love have
Love a lot. Like,
Love a
actually.
lot.
Really a lot. Really a lot.
A lot. It's
Despite
like,
sometimes getting negative comments blown out of proportion,
Yeah.
in real life, people are like, oh, I love your stuff.
Yeah.
and it's always the haters who are loudest online.
True.
And
They don't dare
people-
to even look at
Yeah.
us in
They're
real
the same.
life.
They're the same
Yes.
people actually.
Yeah.
Actually, I realized after a while, I clicked their account. It's the same person commenting video A, video B, video C. Same person. Then I go see other user account, right? They also comment on all my other friends' account.
I guess we should thank them for interactions.
Yeah.
I suppose one of the comments that it's related to misogyny would be about my relationship status. I think as someone that's in my late 20s and as a girl, people always put my value to my relationship status, right? So that
Okay.
comes in the comments now and then. I think there was a video about like what are Chow's weaknesses, for example, and then they're like, Chow's too picky, that's why she's single, nobody wants her and stuff. But I don't know if that's like gender specific also, because it can go both
Okay,
ways.
so on that note, I've got friends who are like 30 already, they're still single or just broke up, you know.
Joking comments.
And sorry, he's yes, but you're also single now.
yeah.
Okay, and Avery also actually.
Yeah.
So for my girlfriends who are like, let's say in their 30s already, who are not in a relationship and they're still single, versus men who are in their 30s and are single, the perception I feel is very different.
Yeah, that
Right?
for sure.
Because it's like, oh man, are you okay? Like you're still in your prime.
Yeah.
Like, 30s, you only be in your prime when you're like closer to 40, you're good. But for girls, it's like, I expire already lah, I think. Yeah, 30 plus is over.
Yeah. But I do want to say, I feel that that's changing a little bit
I hope so, yeah.
over time. And that even if you're single in your 30s, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's more representation of single women who are just killing it in life
Yes.
online. And this just makes it overall seem a lot more normal and acceptable. Yeah. In fact, the perceived value of single women in their 30s who are highly successful in their own right, is even higher now.
Because we
it's
don't play
even better.
games.
Yeah. And honestly, like, I think at that age, it's just if you want to date, you date properly already.
Yeah.
You just don't waste your time. That's why
It's
you're
for
single.
real.
Yeah.
Oh, like I get attacked all the time because I'm single though.
You get
Really?
attacked.
Yeah, all the time.
What do
It's
people
like,
say?
oh, that's why he's still single.
Oh, yeah lah.
It's like permanent one.
But
He
what is-
looks very used
But when
to
you
it.
say that, where do you think this is coming from? Because bringing it back to misandry and misogyny, right? Like you said, the girls nowadays, it's a bit different. I guess misogyny is not that prevalent as it was like 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But is misandry then now more prevalent, be it in online, in real life, that
Yeah.
you feel that these people are saying these things to you just because they don't like you?
As a man, I guess.
Wow, hard to analyze whether it's gender specific or not.
So here's something that I've seen online quite a bit, is that there are people commenting their trends. They have little TikTok videos of women saying things like, oh, men are trash, you know, oh, not all men, but men, you know, some men, but men. That kind of trend is so prevalently misandristic, right? That it's got nothing to do with anything other than the fact that a guy can't seem to do things right.
Have
Do you feel personally attacked?
I don't think it's personally attacked, but I do feel like it's unfair, right? Because TikTok, Instagram, like social media, it is so influential that it has influenced relationships, it influences work, it influences all these
Decisions.
things. Exactly, right? And when you have people who have a certain status, a certain type of influence, right? And they share things like this, you know, oh, my boyfriend didn't buy me flowers on the second date, men kind of thing, right?
Oh, okay.
People are going to be like, oh, then should I be receiving flowers on my second date? And if then this person doesn't do it, is he just like every other person?
You know, it's so funny because I clearly am not an overthinker. I don't know, but I never thought in that line of... I never had that line of thought before.
Like the he didn't buy me flowers line.
Yeah, like I
okay.
never really thought about it. I don't know.
I
No,
like
is that,
it.
we use that as an example.
Yeah.
Right,
No, I get it.
I guess it depends on how you consume that also. So if
Yeah.
you consume that and think that, oh, this is applied to all men now, as compared to like, oh, she's very critical and she demands flowers for her own date, you know?
Yeah,
Like-
but you see the difference is that people don't think the same way that
Then
you
it's a
think.
shame. It's really a
And,
shame.
and
that-
majority of the people online
Yeah.
will take what people say as is.
Yeah, it's kind of like group thing, like
Exactly.
herd
There's-
mentality.
I mean, it's the same thing, right? When you guys do content, you would tell as well that a lot of people, they have the same kind of opinions. They take
Okay.
it as it is.
I don't know what algorithm you have, right? But my algorithm doesn't really show me too much men hate, which is a good thing, I guess. But when I do see these comments, they are always tagged to some sort of violent crimes. And I feel like that's where it becomes a heavier discussion also. And that's the reason why people say, I think I saw a line once that I felt strongly for. It was not all men, but it's always a man
Yeah, I've seen that.
in
yeah,
relation to violent crimes.
Okay.
And
What about cheating?
No, not so much, because
Not so
cheating
much
is both,
cheating.
like, women
No.
cheat
Cheat is
as
both.
well.
I was going to say that.
I
yeah.
Women
see it
cheat
more as
too.
Yeah.
men. It's a men thing as well. I see it a lot more.
Okay,
Have you seen a TikTok that it's like girlies comment the worst thing a Singaporean guy has done to you? That TikTok.
I
and then
saw
it's
that.
like
I didn't see that one.
thousand
That one I
comments.
saw.
What were some
Or
of the comments? Do you
stories.
remember?
Wow, it's crazy. There's so many.
No, like, I will
Honestly, the
say-
stories are insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Insane.
Oh my
No, some of the stories are insane, but some of them are also, like I said, very minuscule things. Like, oh, he didn't want to pay for the first date.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
he
So
showed
it's
up.
like 0-100 lah,
Yeah,
basically.
it's like, oh, he showed up to our first date in shorts.
Yeah.
I would wear shorts to a first date.
I think he would, yes.
I actually would. I still wear shorts and slippers to go to town. Like, what do you mean?
Man.
No, you see what I mean? So it's really two different spectrums, right? And like bringing it back to you guys, is this something that you guys understand and you see on social media? And if you do, how do you as this duo talk about it?
Or do you guys address it?
Yeah, do you address it at all?
I don't think, yeah.
Every time we come out with a topic, we always discuss it a bit beforehand, like to see what stance we are at and whether it's different for both of us. Because it doesn't make sense if both of us have the same thought. Then after that, we just sound like one robot, right? So we tend to have opposing views on some things. Sometimes if I feel lightly about this, but she feels heavier about the other thing, then I will take on the other stance from another point of view. Not necessarily that I fully believe in it. Yeah, so that's how we kind of balance it out.
Do you guys ever find yourselves getting caught in a real argument? Like, you're doing content and then it develops into a real disagreement.
No,
Really? That has never happened?
we just chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, I think it's a really good balance that we have. We are able to have really good open conversations with each other. We have had arguments before as friends, but not in the context of like,
The content.
the content.
I want to get your thoughts on this. What do you think about the whole I hate men culture then?
Specifically in Singapore, like when they say Singaporean men are trash, right? Then you'll be like, oh, but I'm a Singaporean man. Are they really trash? So what actually was my favorite first date question is, what is your worst date? Wow, it's actually really quite trash.
Wow.
I swear. Most guys really don't know how to behave on a date. I think basic respect. First off, like dressing, we do not wear shorts in Orchard
man.
Road. When the girl,
That was a personal attack.
No, I disagree.
when the girl puts in effort to dress up, and you don't at least match her, like there's stuff.
Let me give context, right? If let's say we go on a night date and I say that, I'm going to bring you out for dinner, I'm going to bring you out for drinks, of course I'm going to dress up nicely. If you say, oh, let's go grab a coffee on a Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
That's why I said,
that's the
match
context.
her.
Yeah.
If you heard the line, I said
Yeah,
match
match.
her.
Yeah, imagine I show up like in jeans and she shows up in an FBT and an oversized t-shirt.
Yeah, it's happened to me before. And then I call her out, right? So it depends.
And
right?
you didn't have a second date.
Yeah. She wears sports shoes, jean, yellow color t-shirt. Cannot, bruh.
Wow.
I
you
remember
were
to
very
this day
you were very
exactly
specific.
what she wear.
You
I
were
was
very,
like,
very
wow.
specific.
I took 1 hour to pick up my outfit, bruh.
Okay, so since quite a number of us don't really get this on our FYP very much, right? Here are some examples. And the first one being, why are you such a man hater? Have you seen anything like this?
God forbid I have a hobby.
I know this trend. That's a terrible thing to say. Because this trend is supposed to make light of like a habit that they have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to say that
This is the
to call it a
the
hobby is wild.
I don't know. I actually really like men.
I've been your friend for long enough to I can confirm.
Like same.
Me, if hating men was a job. This is me if
Wow.
loving men was a job.
Okay, we get it, Sons. Jeez.
I do think people jump on the bandwagon quite a fair bit.
Yeah.
Right? And that obviously not all men are trash, right? But honestly, most men are pretty much trash.
Wow.
Hey, you said it. I didn't say it.
He's jumping on the bandwagon.
Let me ask you this then, Nick. Do you consider yourself a girl's guy for saying that? Like, do you think you agree with majority of the women because you're saying, oh yeah, I agree that most guys are trash?
Based on the stories I've heard and the sample size, I can agree that most guys are trash.
So would you say then you believe yourself to be the upper percentile?
Yes. I always tell people
So-
I top 5% of
You're
guys.
so fucking arrogant. Oh my god. There's obviously going to be topics and opinions from other people about everybody here because we're so prevalent on social media.
Yeah.
And people's opinions sometimes don't matter. 100%.
Yeah.
But has anybody ever called you a misogynist, you a misandrist? Same for you. Has anybody ever said this to your face?
No lah.
No.
I do want to say
definitely
that
not.
misandry isn't really a word used in Singapore social media.
In fact, I think a lot of
Yeah.
people don't really understand the
Yeah.
context of it or the meaning of it.
Yeah. So when I went to look it up, I saw so many people talk about how misandry isn't even real.
Yeah.
And that a lot of it perpetuated because of patriarchy and the expectations of patriarchy. So how patriarchy had pushed for things like men having to be taller. That was something that men wanted to be, because if you are short, then you are likened to having feminine traits, and they frown upon feminine traits. Therefore, it is.
So that's the thing. So if a girl goes like, I will only date a guy if he's like 180.
Where did she get this thought from?
Yeah.
Is it from her own hate of men, or is it because of the expectations of patriarchy?
And I get that, but I still do think that as time progresses, right, we see misogyny back in like the 1950s as violent, right? It has progressed to being a bit different in this day and age.
Okay.
But misandry has become such a big thing, and it's even unknown that it is misandrism.
so
Wait,
For
why is
example,
it a big thing?
For example,
Why is it
right?
a big thing?
Yeah.
So why was misogyny a big thing back then?
Because in
People are
general,
dying.
men have more power than women.
Yeah, and people
Yeah, but-
actually dying and
Correct.
getting hurt.
I agree.
I mean, that's
but
the
in in the
context,
age
yeah,
of
that's the
social media
backstory.
as well, right? People don't talk about men's health enough. And in this day and age, when women are such a big part of life in every aspect, there's so much empowerment to them as well that I do feel that there are certain times where misandrism is such a real thing that men also realize, oh shit, you know,
Okay.
I am not enough for said woman.
To give a very simple example, I feel like men are not seen as people who really like give out that much emotion or show as much emotion, right? I think I've definitely witnessed this before, like in groups when we hang out, watch movies, maybe there's like a bit of a moving scene, and maybe one of my guy friends like looks like he's tearing up or something. Then one of the girls goes like, don't cry lah, be a man lah, you know, that kind of thing. Would that be considered?
Misandristic?
Yeah.
I think that's toxic, not
I don't
necessarily.
think
Not
it's-
necessarily.
Not a hate towards men.
No.
You know?
You don't think
Yeah,
so?
I don't think so. I think a misandristic comment are things like basically this whole trend of like, you know, men are trash. Like, what is the reasoning for men are trash? Because we wear shorts to dates, because we don't pay for the meals, because we don't earn enough money. Like, all that to me is a cultural stigma that has become a norm.
I don't believe in misandry. It doesn't exist.
You don't think that exists?
No, because men are in power.
Sure.
Patriarchal society. You feel this way because suddenly a bit of power is stripped away from the male person.
No, I disagree. I don't think there's ever been a situation where power has been stripped away. When you talk about insulting somebody, or you talk about, you know, being mean to a person, there's no power being taken away.
But it has never been tied to our gender, you see.
What do you mean?
Insult me in a misandristic way.
But
Go ahead, go for it.
no. But the thing is that's not the point, right? Because if a man hates another man, it is obviously just
You're a woman now, You have long
You're a
hair.
woman
Let
now,
it down, let it down.
no. Okay,
Remove the
so
bun.
so we'll say it this way, right? If let's say a person comes to you in online or whatever, and they go, "Oh, you're just a typical man because you go out with girls and you know you just anyhow date them,"
Then
Then
there's no point in that. That's not insult.
but you don't feel it. Some people will, some people won't. So it's always contextual. So misandrism will exist in a space where people accept misandrism. So you as the person don't believe misandrism exists.
But I don't think any insult towards a man is tied to because you're a man, you know?
I will give you an example, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully she's not watching this, but one of my sister's friends, right? I don't want to give too much context, right? But she was a full-on misandrist for a period of time, and I
Okay.
called her out on it.
what did she
So,
say that made you think
It's
that?
a situation where she was dating a girl, and she straight up just anything that had to do with men, she was like, "Ah, typical." Of course.
Okay, but is it based on her own bad experiences?
No,
with
because now
men?
she's dating a guy.
Huh?
That means previously she must have had dated guys that gave her a bad experience, right?
But that's, and I agree,
Yeah.
right? But to generalize the whole problem, right? That is where the problem lies.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't generalize a problem. And that's what she did. She generalized the problem. And that's what I'm trying to get at, right? You're saying that it doesn't exist because you don't acknowledge the fact that it exists. And that's fine. But to acknowledge the fact that misandrism is real is just as equally important to say that misogyny is real as well.
I see your point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's okay. I suppose it just depends on like the prevalence of each, and you just happen to have this very personal
context
experience,
also,
yeah,
yeah.
experience with it. I have heard this a couple times, especially in the lesbian community, right? They always say this. They're always like, men are trash, or like, oh, men are worse than women and stuff. And I didn't realize this until I heard what you said. But my response had always been, why do you generalize? And why do you say this? Like, it's not all, but some.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean all. So I have actually encouraged like my friends who have these views to go and make friends with more straight men. I've literally said that, and like
Be exposed
yeah, go and
to
expose
the better
yourself.
people
and
out there.
when I see them hanging out with a straight guy, literally I'm like, oh my gosh, straight friends,
Small win,
straight
small
men
win.
friends. You know, like there are great straight men, and I think I understand your point about how if it is a bigger scale problem if this gets even more out of hand. If more people adopt this mindset, then it could lead to very negative sentiments of like very unnecessary negativity also. But I guess at the end of the day, right, like very broad thing to say, I know. At the end of the day, I think just don't generalize people for their gender, their race, whatever.
Frankly, I mean, if you are getting to know a person, get to know the person. Yeah, based on your own personal experience.
Yeah.
That's it. For example, when one of my besties hates on her ex, we hate on her ex, not men. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
He is an
Contextual.
MCP, but we're like, yeah, he's such an MCP.
Honestly, it becomes a situation where if you have this thought process, right, and a new person comes into your life, you're always going to have a initial idea already, you know, or I've dated Singaporean men and these are the situations. I'm going to be pretty much just expect the same kind of treatment and whatnot. And you got to look past all that, right? And if you don't, that's when this whole misogyny / misandrism comes in, because you're like, okay, you know, I already have a generalized idea and that's what I'm going to believe in.
Yeah, but you know, people's reactions on social media are always going to be like that, because I still remember this episode of Men Explain we did before you came on board, right? And this was with Aiden actually, when he made a statement about how Singaporean men don't make an effort to dress up. We incited so much hate against us in the comment section because all the Singaporean men who are active on TikTok were like slamming us like mad, and they seemed quite hurt or butthurt about this comment.
I think this argument of the Singaporean men dress up is very prevalent, right? And it's true. You dress like trash.
Okay, here we go.
I mean, I want to say that there's a reason why Uniqlo literally calls their t-shirt the Singapore men outfit. Like the Singaporean uniform. There are reasons for why people have these views, but it definitely isn't generalized. And when you talk about these things online, you tend to just make,
incite
like
the
sweeping
comments.
statements,
Exactly.
right?
So similar, I feel.
Majority dress for comfort is true, and practicality is true.
Yeah.
Is that a bad thing? No. But is it objectively fashionable? It's not lah.
Then the question is, who are these guys who are like very angry and riled up?
I don't think
If
it's about
not
being angry or being riled
just
up.
being triggered by this
I
comment.
think it's acknowledging,
okay.
right? It's acknowledging that there is misandry in the world.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
It really is. It doesn't have to make me angry. It doesn't have to make me want to hurt women. It doesn't make me want to do anything. It just has to be an acknowledgement that this is a problem. Why is it a problem? Again, people get influenced easily online. 9,000 plus people, sure, fraction of the world, but if 9,000 plus people are thinking this way, right, that's going to spread and it's going to become a problem. There are people who are not as confident as you, right? There are people who are a little bit less confident, and when they see this, they're going to be like, you see, I can't do anything, right? And then I'm literally going to never find a girlfriend because they all hate guys. Everything I do is wrong. It's a slippery slope.
I've seen that. I've seen
It's a
people say
slippery
that
slope.
also.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I suppose as people who do stuff on social media, we post things, we talk about things, and we have communities, right? We just have to be careful about the things that we say. And which is also why I go back to, if I had a chance to say that we cannot generalize, that's where I always come in and put in that thought.
No, I love that you brought that up, because I think as people who create content, you guys post so much, videos and content. You think we got a duty as well to
I
try
guess.
and keep the peace there, or what
I
do you
suppose
think?
it's hard to say that. I would love if all publishers, all creators, anyone
so
with
much
a
thought into
social
it,
media
right?
presence, right, thought about this.
Yeah.
But most people are just optimizing to get the most views lah.
Yeah, because they just want publicity
And then they
regardless.
say like controversial things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think on TikTok or Instagram, a lot of people do things for the views. And I think when they get a certain amount of validation, when they are hating on a certain group of people, whether it's men or women, they will continually do stuff because they seek validation, right? Which is why half of the people that post on social media do post on social media. It's because they get a like that they normally wouldn't get.
I think
Right,
they
it
just
is-
want people to agree with them.
Yeah. It's the same reason why someone posts a hate comment, and then when it gets likes, they get very filled up,
Yeah.
and then they continue posting hate comments
Yeah.
again and again and again and again. So does it really matter in the grand scheme of things? Not really lah, because they might not even feel that way, Sometimes you reply them, and then after that they suddenly like change 180. And then be like, oh yeah, I completely misread your post. Then I'm sorry. Yeah. But are they gonna delete the comment because it already has 1,000 likes? No. Yeah. So let's say now I'm in a picnic, and then after that I'm hanging out with some guy friends, and then I have a bunch of girls over there, and then one girl just goes, I hate all men. Then what are we gonna do? I'll ask her, why? Why you hate? You explain. Talk to me. Okay, we want to figure out where the source of hate come from. Right? Is it your past experiences?
But she never said she hate you there. So why does it matter?
No lah, but she's now openly, we are in a social setting, right? She's
Where
throwing
there's
out a
all the
topic.
men there.
Yeah, we are
Yeah.
here to
Yeah.
discuss and debate. That's what I love to do, right? If you ask me a question like, I hate all apples, I'll ask you why. Same.
So
Then we
again,
discuss,
it's contextual.
Yeah, it's contextual.
Okay, well, let me bring it to this then, right? Since we're talking about receiving hate and all these things. Social media is obviously a place where we cannot control what people say about us. We can't control comments. But what do you guys think the difference between cancel culture and constructive criticism from people watching you is? When do you say like, okay, this is actually a good point versus this person just doesn't like me and it's damn obvious?
I think people often hide behind constructive criticism. Like, oh, I'm here to insult you to make you better. But
they just want to cancel you.
Yeah, most of the time it's bullshit, right?
But do you think cancel culture is like a little bit higher than just constructive criticism? In the sense that they would put in more effort to make you look bad rather than just dropping a comment.
I think it's baby steps, right? It's like the frequency, the quantity of the comments that are coming through, and how many times they're commenting on all the other videos that you have.
Does it seem personal?
Yeah. If it's really just like you're ugly, it's a personal attack for no reason, like not really about your views or your opinions, not a discussion, not trying to engage with you at all, but just to insult you, then I think that's very clear, just cancelling, just trying to get you off the internet, I guess, or like to hurt your feelings.
Okay, so sometimes you do get, I don't know if you guys have ever received DMs or anything on constructive criticism, right? Do you feel like people mean it more from a good place when they like privately tell you like, hey, you know, like I like your content, but maybe this post didn't sit too well with me, just want to let you know.
I think that sounds reasonable.
Versus like just directly putting it on a public platform immediately. That I feel has a bit of intention already because you want other people to see it, no?
I think it doesn't matter whether it's private or public.
You don't
but
think so?
Sometimes it's like the tone and the whole messaging.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can see that people come with a bit of heart. And then you're like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, like, let's address this, then we'll talk about it for a while.
I mean, people
True.
can still DM you and be like, hey, go off yourself kind of thing, right? So
Yeah.
it comes off the same way. I think he's completely right. It's the approach to the comment and the approach to the DM.
So I guess at the end of the day, it's not really about taking sides. I think for all of us, we have a certain amount of responsibility on the kind of content we want to put out.
Yeah, it really isn't about being right. It's an honest
There is
opinion.
no right.
There's no right. Honestly, it's an opinion, but also I feel like it's having a very safe and, you know, an open opinion about that one.
I think it is dangerous if people are really pushing for very polarizing views. Yeah. And they're breeding this sort of like discussion. But that's why Nick and I always choose to have opposing views where we discuss and we show that
It's balanced.
Yeah, it's balanced.
Yeah, instead of just stirring the pot.
Yeah. If we have the same view about something, we usually don't talk about it.
I completely agree. This is why Aves and I always have opposing views.
That's why we're on Men Explain. Thank you guys so much for watching yet another episode, and thank you Chow and Nick for joining us today. We really do hope that you've enjoyed this, and make sure that you follow us on all our socials at itsclarity.co.
Yes, if you're tuning into us and not watching this YouTube video, you can log on to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Me Listen, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Boy.
Good boy.
Hey man, back in the ancient Greek world, small penises were seen as noble, so you know what? It's
Whoever made that rule had a small dick. Okay.
No, but it was seen as like more clean, you know, more kept
More
rather than
classy, is
rather
it?
than having a big
Okay.
barbarian dick,
Okay.
right?